Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers he plucks. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
This is Dating Kinda Sucks, a podcast about dating, sex, and relationships. This week, we'll be talking about setting healthy boundaries in your relationships. Enjoy the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, because I hope Adam wasn't going to forget that part of it.
Oh, shit. I completely... I looked at the agenda. It wasn't even in there. I didn't even think about it.
I saw your face. So feel free to subscribe, like this video, comment below if you're watching. And I already said subscribe, but enjoy.
Subscribe and subscribe again. And yes, I forgot all about it because I'm a terrible person.
Let's start off with us setting up for this episode and you trying to balance your phone on a thing of mayonnaise, a squeezable container of mayonnaise.
Giant squeezable thing of mayonnaise, yeah.
The most Adam thing I have ever seen,
well, it
honestly.
just seemed like it'd be close to my mouth and it would work like that. Yeah, I don't know, but it wasn't wide enough to really balance my my recorder on, so.
The joys of traveling and having a podcast on the road, huh?
Yes,
exactly. I don't have equipment, but I have this mayonnaise.
I have mayonnaise. I don't bring recording equipment, but I bring my jar of mayonnaise with me. You know, I started off my road trip in June with I think there were 14 jars of mayonnaise. And then I would get to new places and I would just have something. I was like, I would just open a jar and just dip whatever I was eating into the mayonnaise directly.
Ever?
Like not whatever, but things that I would usually dip in mayonnaise, okay. Chicken nuggets or whatever. And then I would just throw the entire jar away because I was like, I don't want to try to travel with it. So then I finally used all the mayonnaise that I had.
But not really. You just opened all the jars and threw them away as you were moving across the country. Let's be real with what you were doing.
But when I was in Utah staying with my parents, I went grocery shopping and I bought a big thing of squeezable mayonnaise. I was like, you know what, this is coming with me. I'm not throwing it away. I'm bringing it with me. Me and my mayonnaise are hitting the road.
Oh, so you have your right hand on your mayonnaise. Wow,
right hand
got a lot going on.
That's basically it. So yeah, that's been my my life. Me and my mayo. No, I am in somewhere. I'm outside.
Nowhere, Iowa?
Yeah, I'm outside of Omaha in Iowa. So I'm on the Iowa side of the Omaha metropolitan area, if you want to call it that.
The fuck? Okay.
I know. I'm this is just a stopping point for tonight on my way down to Memphis. I'm gonna go to Memphis for a couple weeks. So I'm going down through for the next few locations, Joplin, Missouri, which should be an exciting night. And
never even heard of.
I know.
That town.
And then
so
there's Rock, that. And then Memphis. Yeah, Joplin. I think it's a small town. I'm assuming it's named after Janis Joplin, just because. I'm just gonna make that assumption. I don't care if it's true or not. Yeah, and I haven't been doing much in the way of dating, as people might imagine.
No way.
Well, it's funny. Like, I've tried. I was, I was in Utah for almost 3 weeks, and
you were on the apps. I remember you saying the no. What was the acronym for being Mormon?
LDS.
LDS, yeah.
What were you about the no something?
I can't remember what the letters were for it. I was like Mormon, M something, but no, that's not it.
No, LDS, yeah. And I I actually matched with a few people and then never ended up going out with anybody. It just seemed like so much effort for given what I like, the time I had and everything. I met up with some friends in Salt Lake City, but that was the extent of it. Most of my time I just stayed in or visited with my parents. So, and then I would, I was like, oh, I'll just anticipate it. So I'll just set my Tinder location for wherever I'm going to be. and then I'll just and then that way I'll just match with people and see how
Wait,
that goes.
but you're going to Joplin, Missouri, so right, Missouri. So
Yes.
how many people do you expect to find there if you're pre-planning like that? How
Right, and well, I
successful have you
stopped
been?
that by now. Like that's the thing is I was doing that originally, like because originally I went from Utah to a small little town that only had 260 something people there, and I was in that town, and I think I swiped right on everybody that existed in the town because then I ran out of people in like half an hour is all it took. But then I was like, all right, let me anticipate. I'm going to be in Rapid City, South Dakota, so let me switch to that like 4 days early, and then I'll just start swiping right on people. And I matched with a bunch of people and had some chats and made tentative plans to maybe see one person, and then I was like, I'm too tired, I'm not going to do it. I'm just exhausted. So I've been terrible at that whole just in dating in general has just been fucking awful.
You're back to your natural habitat of I'm just too tired for this. Fuck it. If it's not a minute away from where I live, then I don't want to meet up if for a
That
date.
is, that is very true too. Yeah, and I've also been trying to like condense my traveling. I've been trying to condense the because I have so many bags. I don't even know if you saw this on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever, but I had like for like a 2 night stay at a hotel, I had a giant green suitcase. I had my bag that had all my toiletries in it. I had my laptop bag that had everything. I had my cooler that had like some Cokes and drinks and water bottles and my jar of mayonnaise. And
Can't forget the mayonnaise.
can't forget the mayonnaise. And I had one other thing. So like I had all of that for a 2 night stay because they're all like together. So I've been trying to consolidate, and I'm like, okay, I'll just throw in 2 t-shirts and some underwear into one of my toiletry bags, and then I don't have to bring the whole suitcase. But then I'm like, oh, okay, well now like I just it's so much work and the whole thing, and then I'm like, I don't feel like I'm not bringing my razor, so I haven't shaved like in like a way too long. I'm just looking rough. I'm like, I don't want to meet people like this. I want them to imagine me as if I was naked in a tub of bacon on my Tinder profile, and then just not actually see me as I am today.
Gotcha. So when you get to Memphis, that's when you're actually going to put forth some effort because you'll be there for a longer
Probably.
time.
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, because I think, like I said, I'll be there for a couple weeks, so that'll be some time to do it. At least, maybe go out on a couple dates. And but it's been fine. It's been fine. One moment that I realized that like sometimes single life isn't that great is when I was at Yellowstone. So I had a whole day to explore Yellowstone,
Hmm.
and I was just wandering off on my own and just going off into like the woods and just like finding not even trails. It was like, oh, this looks like a fun place to walk. So I was just parking where there were no people because there were so many
Things you can
fucking
do as a man.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, so like so many fucking people. So anytime there was like a popular thing, I drove right past it because I'm like, I'm not stopping where there's 100 other people. So I would just pull off to these little like side things, and I would just be like, oh, this is really cool and quiet, and there's water nearby. It's really neat. So I would just wander off by myself for a while, and accidentally like went on a hike because I was just walking, trying to get somewhere that I saw in the distance, and I realized I've been walking for a while, and I was like, God damn it, I'm hiking, and I do not like hiking. And of course, I'm not wearing any hiking outfit. I'm wearing, as you can imagine, a black t-shirt, a pair of jeans, and fucking dress shoes. That's the only thing I own.
Wait, you don't even have actual sneakers or anything?
I don't own a pair of sneakers. I only own my dress shoes and a pair of
Flip-flops?
flip-flops. Now, my mother like actually pulled out a pair of boots that my dad had, and I was like, "Here, take these with you. These will fit you, just so you can wear them when you go to Yellowstone." And then I forgot to put them on when I went to Yellowstone, and then they were already in my suitcase. It was too late to get out, so I just wore my dress shoes anyways. Um,
What the fuck is wrong with you?
my brain, is what it is. My brain does not work. So I'm walking through Yellowstone, and then like there's this little like hill that goes down, down to like a stream, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to go take some pictures. So as I start walking down, I roll my ankle on a rock that's loose, and then I literally like fall forward and fall down the hill. And it took me a second to get up, get my wind back. And when I got up, I was like, wow, it's good that I didn't really hurt myself worse because my ankle is just, it's a little sore and that was it. I was like, if I actually really like, if I broke my ankle or something, I would be fucked. Like I'm sitting out here by myself. Nobody knows where I am except that I'm at Yellowstone. Nobody knows where I am otherwise. I have
Yellowstone is a big fucking
a
area,
big
though.
place. I have my phone, but there's no service, so it's not like anybody can track my phone. I don't have my wallet on me because I left all that in the car because it's just easier to drive with, like without my wallet in my back pocket. So I was sticking it in my console, and I never pulled it out. So it's like I don't have any identification on me either. And I was like, I don't have any weapons with me. It's not like I'm carrying like a stick or a machete or a knife or anything. I was
A
like, if a bear,
stick.
Well, like a walking stick or anything like that.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
I was like, God, if a bear comes, I'm gonna have to fucking wrestle it. Like, that's the only thing I'm gonna be able to do is be like, I am a bear too, or something. But I don't know. So it's been, yeah, it's been pretty interesting. That was one time I was like, it'd be nice to have somebody with me at that moment because if I had somebody with me, then at least they could go get help. So
Yeah, so if I accidentally roll my ankle, someone will be there to know that I actually
yeah,
rolled my ankle.
so it's like, yeah, because like when I was in North Carolina, my sister and I went somewhere and I went down this big long cliff, walking down to this waterfall, and she was at least up at the top so that if I fell in the water or something, she could have gone and gotten help. She couldn't help me out, but at least she could have gotten help. She made me give her the keys to the car so she could, like, if you fall, I need to be able to go get help for you. So just make sure you stay in one place if you fall in the river or fall down a waterfall. I was
Oh
like,
my
okay, good to know. Yeah, but
God.
that's been the extent of my life. The only other thing that I do want to talk about before we get into your life is
Okay.
yeah, is what I'm actually. I have 2 more weeks on it, so I'm gonna because this episode will be coming out in a couple days, so people can actually do this if they want to. But I'm working on a book, which I've talked about for a bit. That that's why I was traveling. But I finally launched the Kickstarter campaign for it, and so why not we have an audience? Why not talk to the audience about my book and just suggest?
Shameless plug.
Oh,
Adam's got
shameless
a
plug.
book.
Exactly. Um, do you remember? Okay. Do you remember when you first got laid and I had my buddy Luke make
Somebody
that
wrote
song?
a book.
Yeah, I was like, I should have done that. We should have said Adam shamelessly plug something, because I always have something ridiculous to talk about. But my Kickstarter campaign, it's actually it's available now on my social media, but it's also just bit.ly, bit.ly/Adam Kickstarter. And it's a young adult novel that I'm writing, and there's a Kickstarter campaign for 30 days. There's only 2 weeks left in it now, and I have to raise the full $6,000. And you can go and you can pledge a certain amount to pre-order a copy of the book. You can have a character named after you. You can have a chapter dedicated to you. You can get a front of the page, front of the book dedication to you. All types of
Oh
things.
shit, I could do that.
All types of rewards. Yeah, and I have to reach my goal by the end of the time, or I don't get any of the money. So it's important for me to reach the goal. So
Wait, but
what?
how do you not get any of the money?
Because the way Kickstarter works is if you don't reach the goal, then they refund everybody's money. Yeah.
Oh.
So you only have 30 days to raise the funds. So that's why I've been promoting it heavily pretty much every
Damn.
day.
Yo, I didn't know. I felt like it was more of a GoFundMe type thing.
No, no, no.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, if you don't get the money, then fuck, I didn't realize that. That's why I've been kind of a dick to you on social media because if you haven't been following him, he's been posting these really stupid ass memes, but saying,
Excuse me.
sign up for Adam's Kickstarter. And it was like, would you want to do this? Would you want to do that? And I would always just troll him because
Yes,
I'm
you've been
me.
trolling me, and I'm like,
I,
that's fucking Sarah.
I've had some really good troll moments
Yeah,
recently with
there have been.
all of
I
your
agree.
Kickstarter promos, but that's because I'm a
Yes.
dick.
And you had no idea. No, I agree. Like it was funny. Like they were funny. Your trolls were always funny. So they have been funny. But yes, no, I have to raise the full amount by the end of the 30-day period, or I get none of it. So that's why I've been promoting it so heavily. So there's actually, if you go to that Kickstarter link, which like I said, if you like go to my Instagram, it's my link tree. There's a link, in my bio, or my Twitter. There's a link in my bio, wherever. Or if you just look at my Facebook page, you'll see me promoting it every like once a day. And
It's just
yeah,
shit.
and yeah, exactly. But there's a whole excerpt of the book, so you can actually go read an excerpt of the book, see if it's something you're interested in, or maybe somebody who'll be interested, and then you can pre-order a copy. So if you are listening to this in the before September 8th, and would like to show your support, then feel free to check it out. Once again, it's bit.ly/Adam Kickstarter. It's probably the easiest way to find it, and I'd appreciate the support, even from people who are going to be trolls
Even
like
from
somebody.
me, I will throw some money at your Kickstarter. Even from me, yes.
But yeah, it's been good though. It's I'm 2/3 of the way there. So I've raised out of 6,000 that I'm trying to raise, I've raised 4,200 last time I checked. So
Damn, okay.
yeah, it's actually doing pretty well.
Final sprint. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Final sprint. So there we go. So that's my life, is whoring myself out to for my book that I want to write, and traveling and trying not to wrestle bears,
And
and
with mayonnaise.
and with mayonnaise. Yeah, it's a good thing I didn't have the mayo with me. Then I definitely would have had a bear attack me, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
So what have you been up to?
So I'm basically in a long distance relationship that I did not expect to be in.
Right.
How many times I say I don't want to be in a long distance relationship, and look where the fuck I am now. I haven't seen Master of None in going on a month now. So that
Has it
sucks.
really been that long?
It's really been that long. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so we've been apart that long. But good news is we just signed a lease for an apartment. That that was the tough part, was figuring out with budget and with wants and needs of where it was going to be and amenities and all that jazz, what was going to fit for both of us. And I think we reached a point where we had looked at so many fucking apartments and calculated the rent and looked at all these other things and gone, yes, no, that this final sprint, among other things, was like, okay, let's just fucking sign it. Because when I got to where I am now, I called him and cried and basically said, you need to figure your shit out. I'm not fucking happy. We should be living together already. I've been kind of traveling for you, honestly, since June, because my lease ended in June. And that's when, I was going to come back in July before our trip to Maine, and we were going to move in July. And I'm like, it's way past the deadline now. I get it. We had plans and things kind of fell through, and that's not your fault, but I can't just keep postponing things. And I realized I don't mind traveling and being on the road. I don't like doing it alone where I don't know anyone. If I was with him, that would be a completely different picture. But because I'm alone, I come back and I just realize, oh, cool, I'm alone. And I'm going to be alone for how many fucking days, And now I have to. It's fun at first. I mean, yeah, but like it's fun at first, but when you actually really miss somebody, and I was used to seeing him we were basically seeing one another every single day for 3 weeks straight, and we go from that to now I haven't seen him in a month. And we don't really FaceTime. Like, he has an Android phone, so we don't FaceTime, and we don't necessarily get on Skype because I'm always calling him right before I go to sleep or something like that.
Hold on, you dated somebody with an Android?
I did.
Oh my
I don't think I've ever said that, but yes, Master of None
Yeah,
is an
I
Android
liked him
user.
up until this point. That's it right there.
He thinks Apple sucks so bad, so there's that. It's fine. We don't bring it up. We just don't bring it up.
I could never date somebody if I didn't have those blue messages. Like, I feel like that's just. Anyways.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, but yeah, so we don't get a lot of FaceTime, even just being long distance right now. And it's not like he's not going to come visit me or anything like he did when I was in Florida, but it's not what I want. If I'm going to be on the road traveling, I want to be on the road traveling with him. If I'm going to stay in one city, I want to be staying in one city and moving in and living with him. And now that we finally have the plan and we signed the lease, honestly, yesterday, it feels good. It feels good to go, okay, I don't have to figure out where I'm going next or where I should go or planning after my brother's wedding, what the fuck I'm doing. So it's a lot less stressful now that I know.
Well, that's something that we said too, that for a long distance relationship to work, there has to be an end in sight, because without an end in sight, it can feel like that all the time, and it can just be frustrating and just emotionally draining. So just imagine if it was someone, that you hadn't seen recently, but that lived way, like just was like a little far away, and there was no end in sight, just how hard that would be too.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, maybe by December we'll have it figured out. Maybe by hopefully November. And I mean, I was ready to push back at the timeline more and more, but it really pissed me off because I'm like, why do I have to keep making these sacrifices? I felt like I was the one going, okay, we can keep, okay, I understand. And I, on Monday, I just fucking put my foot down. I was like, I'm unhappy. I've been unhappy. Either I need to make a plan for myself and know you're not involved in it, or we make a plan together. You have until the end of the week to figure out what's going to work best for you. I'm open for either option, but for myself, I have to look out for me, number one. And I know I'm not happy, so I have to fix that first.
Yeah.
And that was a harsh, I told him, I said, I feel really bad for being kind of a bitch about it, but I'm my number one priority. And right now I'm sitting here going, what's wrong? Why do I feel insecure about where my life is going and all these other things? So I need to do the things that I know will make me feel good about myself. So let me know where you're at, because I'm making a decision at the end of the week, no matter what.
Well, and we were talking about this before you talked to him, and you were and I was just like, you were saying some of these things, and I'm like, yeah, you need to say these to
I
him.
said them
I
to
know.
him,
I was like,
but
but you
I
need to say
hadn't
this to
had.
him, and you were like, you're so worried. It's funny because you know that is one thing that's still you're always worried about. I think, which is I think a nice thing. You're just like you're worried about sometimes like being too harsh or too, But if you actually feel something, sometimes you have to really share those feelings, even when they are a little bit potentially like hurtful. You have to get that out, and and your partner is the person you're supposed to be able to tell.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that the conversation went well, and I think because he already knew these things in the back of his head anyways.
I just hadn't verbalized it, and I think
Right.
it was because it was unspoken. I just assumed for a while anyways that he knew that I was upset and
Right.
ready
Right.
for us to move in and whatever, but been that I hadn't been that firm with him like I was on Monday.
Yeah.
And maybe if I was firmer with him a month ago, we would have moved in sooner. But even then, it, I don't know. I'm happy that it happened. We had the conversation. Now it's more of which of what of Sarah's shit is getting thrown in the trash, and what are we buying new because he doesn't like some of my furniture.
Which I can
Which
probably
I know you're
understand.
gonna agree with him on
Yeah.
that, but there's some stuff I'm like, look, it's not the best couch in the world. It's not the best coffee table or the best lamp. But guess what? It was cheap. I got it when I moved to Nashville 4 years ago, and I
Right.
don't want to throw it in the dumpster. So, do you have anything better? And if you don't, then we're keeping this for now, and we can put money towards something nicer in the future. But hey, I don't need the nicest things either.
No, I know.
Living out of my suitcase has made me realize that though, that
Right.
you only need a handful of outfits and you're fine, and a full tank of gas and you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, I only need 4 black shirts and a pair of jeans and a pair of dress shoes, and I'm all
You
set.
do need sneakers for hiking, but I'll let that one slide.
I've got I mean I do have boots, so that'll be good when I'm my eventual goal is to make it up to Vermont for the winter. And my parents were both like, you're gonna wear your just dress shoes? And I was like, well, yeah, they work fine in the snow because when I was in Utah a couple winters ago, that's what I wore, and they have good grip. They're actually really solid shoes, but they're like, no, you need to wear these in like when you go out in the snow and ice, like they'll be better. And
Grow up,
so
Adam.
I
Buy
the dress
better.
shoes are grown up. Excuse
I'm
me.
not saying they're not grown up. I'm saying grow up and buy a better pair of. Okay, you shit on me for kitchen stuff. Just get a
I
correct
know.
pair of shoes for the occasion. Dress shoes in hiking or dress shoes in snow.
Yeah.
Unless you are going somewhere fancy in those dress shoes and it happens to be snowing, then yeah, you're
Right.
probably.
No, I know, I know. You should see my winter clothes though. That's gonna be even crazier because all
Well,
I
you're
own
from
is like
Florida, so I can't
uh,
really judge it much
right.
because you
Yeah,
haven't
it'll
had a
be
chance
interesting.
to collect anything. So
Well, I
you
know
might
I'm not
have a
going to.
sweatshirt and that's it.
I have a giant full-length black trench coat that has a
You have a trench coat?
like a London fog trench coat that has a thick layer, and that's all I wear for winter clothes. Is that that's
So,
the
side note, when I think of men owning trench coats, I just think of flashers. I don't know why. I I just think of men wearing nothing underneath and be like, "Look at my dick. Look at my dick."
basically, yeah. It's either that or the
Tell me that's
Columbine
not why you bought the
Columbine
trench.
shooters. No, no, I bought that. I mean, I bought the trench coat actually back in college.
Okay.
So, and it was just a great trench coat that like it was nice. It had good deep pockets and it was warm and for the
Deep
winters in
pockets and
Virginia.
gray. Ooh, like gray sweatpants, but gray trench
No, no, no.
coat.
It was black. It's completely black.
Oh, you said gray a second ago.
No, great,
Oh, great. Okay.
great.
I thought you said
But
gray.
no, it was great. And Yeah, and I absolutely. It's just I've never needed a winter coat since. Like when I went to Iceland, that's all I wore was just that in the winter. Where walking around Iceland, when it was like 10 below, and
With your fancy shoes
yeah, actually,
or flip-flops?
I didn't have the flip flops. I bought a pair of boots to actually wear in Iceland and didn't break them in. And then I got to Iceland, put them on for the first day, and the first day of
Nope.
walking around, I rubbed my heels so bloody raw that it was awful because they were a little too loose too, so they were rubbing back and forth. And so for the rest of the time, I wore dress shoes because I could slip my heels in there without being too painful. And I didn't have band-aids. I didn't have and I didn't have them. So, but I did have duct tape because I packed duct tape Don't ask. I always pack duct tape because you never know when you might need it, like to fix a suitcase or like something like
Okay.
that. So like
Okay.
I always just like throw a roll whenever I travel. Like it's always in my suitcase because it can do anything. Like you can, if you have a car that breaks down, you can fix a hose with it, by wrapping it around the hose. So there's a lot of practical purposes for carrying duct tape.
But to go to Iceland, okay, whatever.
But anyways, yes, I had duct tape in my suitcase, so I made bandages basically by putting like toilet paper against the oozing sores on my heels, and then wrapping my ankles in duct tape, and then it was quite ridiculous, and that was the only way I could survive. My heels it took like 2 months for them to heal properly.
That is some redneck shit if
I
I've ever
know.
heard anything.
Well,
What
I went
the
to the
hell?
pharmacy in Iceland I was with my friend Lisa, and we went to and I was like, "Hey, do you have any Neosporin?" And they just kind of laughed, like, "That's not a real thing. That's what Americans use. That doesn't actually do shit. Like, so just wash it with soap and water, dude, and put a Band-Aid on it." Like that's basically what they said. They were not helpful at all. They literally laughed.
Yeah, I mean, other countries in medicine, you just need to have some stuff with you because I've had similar experiences traveling abroad.
Yeah.
Asking for tampons in Thailand, most mortifying experience I've ever had in my life that my friend and
Did
I
you have to
still
like
laugh.
mime what they were or something?
Oh yeah. And so I'm with like my gay best friend and I can't believe we're going on this tangent. Okay, so in Thailand, it doesn't even matter where, small town though, and we walk into this pharmacy and I'm just looking for, the feminine aisle, which they had a feminine aisle, but it was all Plan Bs and birth control and like all the pregnancy stuff. It wasn't actually tampons or pads. So I'm looking and I'm like, I turn to my friend Nick. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to ask somebody and I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I go up to the counter. I still envision this guy's face and I'm just like, do you have anything for, time of the month? And that didn't work. Like that did not work. And he's just like, I was like, female care, and he points to that section where I just was, and I'm like, oh, that's not it. Like, I need tampons. I was like, tampon? Like literally gesturing the thing. I was like, goes up inside. And he's like the clear blue pregnancy test. I'm like, no, that's not what I
Oh my
want. And
god.
my friend's just sitting there or standing there laughing his
This is
ass off.
incredible.
And he's like, I'm gonna let you handle this. And I'm like, fuck you. I hate that I'm on my period right now in Thailand. And I didn't pack enough tampons. So it was like blood rushing from like I was like blood and he's like band-aids and I'm like no not band-aids but we're getting closer here. I was like and I finally like and this girl walked by the pharmacist and
Right.
she just started laughing. She goes, oh, tampons. But the guy had no idea.
Yeah, wow. Did they just have them somewhere separate
They were in the
behind the
back
counter?
part behind the
Oh,
counter for whatever reason, but yet they had the pregnancy test and more of the expensive feminine items out
right.
for grabs. But yeah,
That's
it
funny as
was
hell though.
very
What a great
embarrassing.
that is incredible.
Learned my lesson that, if you're going to travel in general, make sure you have extra tampons or any kind of Advil, Tylenol, anything else you might need because
Yes.
you just never know. Like even in Norway, not having the right kind of pills for a fever or whatever, you're like, I don't know what the fuck this says. I don't know this language. Fuck.
Yep, absolutely. God, that is fucking great. Okay, and I know we should. This has totally been a tangent, but we're about to end this half anyways. But
Okay. Okay.
but
Well,
before,
one
but
more.
yes, and this is just you being mortified reminded me of what happened earlier when I left Rapid City, and I told you about this already. That I was staying in an Airbnb that was in the it's a upstairs like a above of garage apartment, like a whole studio. It was gorgeous, little sweet, like cute little place that had everything you possibly needed. I would definitely stay there if I was ever going again. And it's detached from the rest of the house where the owners live with their daughter. And the daughter was like in her early 20s and blonde and like fit. Like she was constantly jogging and they had like a pull-out bar in their front yard. She was constantly doing pull-outs and stuff, pull-ups and everything. And so I never saw the owners, but she was there constantly and always like she had her car. She had like a convertible. She always had the top down, was like blasting music everywhere. So that's how I always heard her pull in to the garage, to the driveway. But so I'm leaving, and so I had moved my suitcases up to the car, and I'm carrying them down the stairs from the from the Airbnb, and she had jogged up while I was bringing the suitcase down without looking at me. She just kind of jogged up and was like jogging in place. She had earbuds in, and she was about to go do pull-ups, and the door slammed shut from the Airbnb. She's like, I had my suitcase in my hand, and without turning around, she just goes, "Hey, Daddy," and like I froze for a second. I
Yes,
was like,
daddy.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, daddy. And I was like, I usually get to know somebody a little better before they call me that. And she turned around and the look on her face was just pure like
Uh,
mortification. She was like, "Oh my God, you're not my dad. I am so sorry." And she was beat red. Like she was just turned beat red. And I said, "It's okay. Like I'm not offended. I promise." I said it'll just be a funny story for later. And then she literally like was like, "Okay, bye," and then ran into the house. Like you could tell she
she
was
was
just
waiting for you to leave, so she never had to see you
yeah,
again.
absolutely, absolutely. Like I imagine that if I ever do go to Rabbit City again, and like I put a request in to stay in there, they're gonna be like, "Sorry, you can't stay here," because the daughter's gonna be like, "Hey, that guy never let him back. I embarrassed myself." Although I can't imagine her telling them what she did either.
That's
But
true.
God, it was just so funny though. She goes, "Hey, daddy," like, and it wasn't in like a sexy way. It was just like, "Hey, daddy," like, but it was just like the something about the way she said it, and then when I responded to her, just the look on her face, she was just
You're
absolutely
so
taken.
quick to come to that statement too of normally I get to know someone a little bit better before they call me that. I mean, damn, tip
I
of
mean,
your
that's
tongue.
I guess so. That's just that's immediately the first thing that popped into my head. It was like, I don't know you well enough for you to call me that yet. Was almost what I said. Let's get to know each other better first, then you can call me daddy. But yeah, so that was so funny, and I'm hoping at some point that like I'm sure she's TikTok age, and I'm hoping that she makes some embarrassing TikTok about it, and then at some point she runs across one of mine or something like that, and
That's
because
the guy I
she's like,
called
that's
daddy on
that's the
accident.
guy I call daddy. Yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. I should probably do a TikTok about it at some point too, just to see if it'll eventually make it around to her. But yeah. Anyways, it was just a funny story, and so if you ever think you have a bad day, at least you didn't just do that because that's it was definitely pretty mortifying for her.
For
And with
real.
that, yeah, that kind of segues almost into boundaries. I feel like into setting
Yes,
boundaries.
daddy, it does.
Yeah, no, no, no,
You
Sarah.
know me well enough. No, I'm just
I know,
kidding.
I know. You randomly say that shit sometimes, and it's always so funny. I'm like, it does not sound right coming from your mouth when you
I
say
could
it.
never say. Anyways, but I digress.
You say
Well,
yes, daddy sometimes just as a joke, obviously,
obviously as a joke,
but
but
it's always
actually in
weird when I
bed
hear.
I cannot do it. No.
I think you've said
I
before
can't
you
I
made it
can't
said the joke in bed with Master Nun one time,
yeah,
didn't you?
but I can't be serious. Yeah, I can say it in bed, but I crack a smile and feel like an idiot when I
Yeah.
say it. Like, yes, daddy. Oh, I
Oh.
mean, what the fuck did I just say? I don't know.
Well, with that, we'll be back after a short break. Well, getting back into this, it's always nice when someone says yes, daddy, but this half of the episode is all gonna be about what happens when someone says no, daddy.
No, daddy, no deal.
No deal.
That could
No,
be a
daddy.
boundary you set. Hey, I don't want to use pet names. I'm not cool with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Boundaries when it comes to any type of pet names or kink, like if there's a daddy kink, that's definitely something that you have to be very careful and be very respectful of. But yeah, this half the episodes, we want to talk about boundaries in a variety of different ways when, with both existing relationships and maybe starting new relationships with people, interpersonal relationships, family relationships, just essentially the boundaries in our life that keep us sane and safe.
Yeah, exactly. When Adam brought this topic idea to me, my brain originally thought to long-term relationships, either, friends and family that I've known for a long time or my long-term relationship and setting boundaries for my life. But there are also boundaries you can set early on dating apps when meeting people that I think some people tend to forget of, oh, that's an actual boundary, instead of just saying, no, I'm not interested in that. No, that's a boundary.
Hmm.
Let's redefine that because that's an actual boundary. And if someone doesn't listen to some of the things you're saying up front of no, that makes me feel uncomfortable, or no, I would prefer if we did this instead, and they go, oh, but come on, or they try to guilt trip you or any of those things, that's a sign it's probably not going to work out long term because they're already not respecting your boundaries from the get-go. But we're going to talk all about that because there's so many more than what I originally thought from just, oh, focus on your emotional health because that's the space I've been in for a while, but there's a
Right.
lot more.
Well, and I do think that it is one reason that when you and I do this podcast, sometimes that we approach things differently. You right now you are in a long term relationship, and those boundaries have been very important to you because you've also been doing this kind of long distance and trying to set these boundaries for for communication, for what each person needs to take on and things like that is your focus. And whereas I spend most of my time alone, but also I'm doing I'm active on TikTok where I spend half my time. People send me videos of men being shitty, basically, is what they do
Right.
constantly. And they're like, hey, you should reply to this. You should respond to this video, and talk about it. So I see so many examples of men violating boundaries that some of them sometimes they don't even think about. That's where I brought, where I came up with the concept. And
They
so like
just
we
think,
both,
oh, this person is being annoying by like and not wanting to have sex with me or being just too prude or whatever, when actually it's a boundary that they're not respecting.
yes, exactly. And how important it is to acknowledge, be aware of those boundaries and respect it. Because boundaries sometimes aren't vocal. Now, we're going to talk about how when you set boundaries, you should be clear and vocal about it. But that doesn't mean that everybody always does that. Like you can pay attention to body language to see boundaries too. And that's very
Right.
important to keep in mind. It's like if you go on a first date with somebody, you don't know if somebody wants to, like, if they want to kiss you or not. Like you can tell, and you
Their
can also
arms are
tell,
crossed. If they're if
yeah.
they're not facing toward you, they might not be wanting to do any of that.
Exactly. If they just keep shoving up garlic in their mouth every time you try to get close to them, then
That too.
they're setting up an actual smell boundary, and so where they can work out. But the I think the one that we can kind of cross off quickly and just talk about it in less than probably less than 30 seconds is the idea of physical boundaries when it comes to, like, this is more of a rule for men. Men, you don't need to touch women that you don't know, like, in any
In
way.
a club.
In a
You,
club. You don't
oh
need to put your hand
God.
on the
Yeah.
small of their back to move past them. You can move past them with, like, you can have your hands up in the air. You can do whatever you want, but you don't need to touch them in any capacity. You don't need to get a hug from that bartender that you go see every day because she is only hugging you for the tip, and
Right.
not
We've
that
talked
type of
about
tip.
that before. Yeah,
We
yeah,
have,
not
we
that
have.
tip too.
Not that type of tip. Because that was a revelation for me, actually, and I learned something. And I was like, oh, that's actually something I didn't think about. Is like you're essentially forcing someone, but those are boundaries. Someone's physical space is a boundary that you shouldn't cross unless you have permission to. And if you're not going to touch a man that way, then why would you touch a woman? That's one thing to keep in mind. But also, it's none of your, like, it's also the idea of making a woman pull out her earbuds. That's a boundary. Like if she has earbuds in, she's putting up a boundary. Like having her pull out her earbuds to talk to you because you want to compliment her on something, that's just crossing a boundary. So that's that's the physical boundary that you need to avoid. If you wouldn't touch a man that way, which I hate to say that this is the way that you have to think about it, because some of these guys just they're like, oh well, I'm just being polite. You're not being polite when you touch her by the hips or the small of her back or her shoulder when you're walking past her. That's not being polite. That's being creepy. And
Oh, and
that's, yeah,
the first thing that they do when she reacts in a fuck you kind of way of don't fucking touch me or fuck you, like I said, fuck you to the guy who complimented me when I had my earbuds in. They were like,
right.
you fucking whore. Like that was the first reaction was like,
Yeah,
oh, how dare you? And I'm like,
yeah.
that was a boundary and you're gonna react like that? You're a shit person.
Exactly, because that means the only reason that he was complimenting you was for a response. Like, because then it creates this transaction of, I gave you a compliment, now you owe me something nice. That's why that happens
Let me
in
just
the
get on my
compliments.
knees real quick. That
Yeah,
that is the next step. Obviously, pull my hair back. Oh, it's already back. I'm
yeah,
ready.
yeah, basically, exactly. And so that's why when they get so defensive, because they're doing a shitty thing and the transaction is now canceled.
Well, they don't see it as shitty though. They just see that like I think
Right,
going back to being in a club 18, I kind of wanted the male attention too. So when I was walking through a group of guys, this is my fucked up 18-year-old brain though. If a guy kind of touched me, I was like,
right.
"Oh, is he interested?" And then I'd look and be like, "Oh my God, what the fuck? No, don't fucking touch me." But yet I made this weird thing, 18, so stupid, but I made this thing of like if it was a hot guy, it was fine. But if it
Right,
was
right.
a creepy guy, it was not. Obviously, that's wrong in general. Like no one should touch me, but it was I thought that's what I liked. And then I got older and realized, oh no, no one should touch me, period, if I walk past them in a club, bar, anywhere.
Exactly, because like I said, they're not going to touch another man that way. They're not going to reach. They're not going to walk by a guy and touch him on his hip as they go by. Excuse me, that they're only doing that to literally to violate your physical space. And so,
But I don't think at the time I thought that.
right,
Being honestly, a teenager,
yeah,
18, 19 in a club, I didn't think like that. And I don't know if men at that point in their maturity age, 18, 19, are thinking like that or were thinking like that. Now I hope we've progressed in, the 10 years since those
right,
incidents happened. But maybe not everybody is coming from a place of trying to take advantage and crossing a boundary. They just think that's socially okay, which we've honed in on is not. There's a boundary there. But if you've never heard that argument before of you shouldn't touch someone like that, you wouldn't know you should
that's
do,
true.
but like you wouldn't know otherwise because everybody else around you
It's
tends to
so
do that and get
ingrained in
positive.
us. Yeah,
Right, and that gets positive interaction with women, so that's just
yeah,
what you do until you kind
it's
of get
true.
older and go, oh yeah, I don't touch women like this. That was kind of fucked up that I did in my late teens, early 20s.
And much later, lots of men are also older doing that
Right.
too.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, it is socially ingrained in us. It's a thing that people do because it's part of our society, and it takes active learning that that's not okay in order to stop it. And so that's why I think it was at least worth mentioning to say,
Right.
don't
But
do
I,
that, men.
I think with a lot of these boundaries that we're going to talk about, though, when boundaries are first, say, for example, texting or messaging on an app or setting boundaries with someone, like a hard boundary with someone, a family member or something like that, the first time you do it, it probably gets ignored because you're like, but that breaks all of the other social stuff I've already been conditioned to think is okay, if
Right.
that makes sense. So it's a hard transition to go from, but this whole time period it was fine, and now this is a boundary. So
Yeah.
obviously we'll get into communicating it, but there's like a mindset shift when boundaries are set that you go, okay, got it. I need to focus more on that and actually be mature and realize this is how I need to act toward this boundary now. Instead of
And
complaining, oh, you're putting up another barrier for me, another this for me, instead of realizing, oh, change, it's actually a boundary.
that's actually a good to know too is that it's in my mind it's maybe similar to when like a lot of victims come out of like sexual abuse and they all come out at the same time and start telling somebody, oh, this person did this years ago. And what happens is people sometimes like, oh, well, but you were okay with it for the last 5 years, but now you're not okay with it. And it's not what it is. It's just now they actually have the strength and feel the power, empowered enough to actually come out against the person they're accusing.
They didn't
Because
have hard boundaries before. It was harder for them to establish boundaries with that specific person too.
well,
They
then again, that's what I'm saying though is like when, I guess what I'm talking about is when you come out with a boundary, when you've been okay with behavior up till X point, and then all of a sudden you come out with a boundary, and people are like surprised by it.
True,
It's
yeah.
the same mentality as when someone got sexually assaulted or something, and then years later they come out about what happened, and someone's like, "Oh, were you okay with it all these times that it happened before?" No, of course not. They're just finally able to be vocal about it because our society is getting more and more capable of listening to women and
And
accepting that
it's
women.
compounding like situations too of like, oh, this is fucked up. Like, no, I won't tolerate this.
Right. And
I
just
don't think
because you're
boundaries
finally
happen overnight.
saying it's not okay doesn't mean it was okay all those other times. Like that's the
Right.
important thing. And
Right.
so it's just, you just, so when someone does set a boundary, if you're with somebody who all of a sudden sets a boundary and all the times before they were okay with things, and I'm not saying this is like they're assaulting you, I'm saying just like a normal boundary. It's something that's absolutely like you have to respect that. You can't just take that and say, oh,
But
well,
all the
you were okay with it last time I called you at midnight or whatever. If they're like, let's say it's something simple like that, like please don't call after 10 p.m. Well, I've called you at midnight, a dozen times over the last month. Yeah, and now I'm telling you that that's not okay. I don't want that anymore. I need that as my
right.
boundary. I need my sleep. Please don't call after this period. You respect that. You don't get argumentative. You don't get defensive about it. You accept it and agree with it essentially.
But it's a change that people have to get behind
Yes.
or leave.
Right.
If you're not gonna respect those boundaries, then be gone, because it's a boundary, and if you cross it, you just get the goalpost just keeps getting pushed and pushed until you're just out of my life.
And I think that's one thing I saw when I we're doing some research and in the boundaries is that you can't set boundaries without setting consequences.
Right.
And it's just like a kid. Like you can't tell a child that, hey, you can't do something without a punishment. Like, don't do that. If there's no consequence, there's no punishment, then what's the point of listening? Because now, obviously, if you're a good person, you're going to listen to someone anyways. But there need to be consequences to show that you're actually serious about what you're saying. And so that's very important. And if that boundary means I can't talk to you anymore because you violated my boundaries, then you have to stick with that.
And on the flip side, we'll use the child scenario here. You can't set a boundary of no sweets after 8 p.m. and then 8:30 one night you go, what the hell? Whatever. You can eat whatever.
Right.
If that's going to be the boundary, you can't
Yes.
you can't pick and choose when that boundary best applies. It's the boundary. It is what it is. Stick to it.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about someone changing boundaries over time? Like as maybe after a while when you start to feel more comfortable or things relax a little bit? Is that
That
what do you think about that?
that I can get behind that idea, but I'm talking when you originally set no sweets after 8 p.m. and then a week later you're like, well, it's 8:30, whatever, it's fine. It's only 30 minutes.
Right.
And you've already given up on it. If you've noticed they've respected your boundary for a consistent period of time, you're feeling comfortable with where you're at with that individual, you can kind of tone it down a bit. Obviously, still feeling respected and whatever regarding that boundary, but
Right.
you don't have to be as harsh as you had to be when you first set it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I didn't even think about talking about this, but now this is actually, yeah, no, this is something I don't think I've ever really talked about. But when I had the affair, and we got found out basically when we had the affair. Have I said her name on here? I can't remember if I've ever said her name,
I
but
think you choose not to say
I
her
choose
name.
not to, so it's probably
Yeah.
a good idea not to say her name. Anyways, she and I stayed friends because what happened is she and her husband worked on things, and it was this whole thing about she told her husband that that our friendship was still very important to her, and she wanted to be able to maintain that friendship. And so he and I sat down and had a conversation about, and I was like, I respect your marriage. I'm not going to do anything again. I'm going to, and this is right after I had already moved out. So I was already like gone from Amy's life. So I was, we were going through divorce at the time, had my own place. And so she continued to work for me too, because she was working for me at the time and would come to the house, and we would try to set boundaries. So we would set these boundaries of, okay, well, you come to work, we, like we can have normal conversations, other employees are there and everything like that. But it's slowly like we started like chipping away at those boundaries. And it was like, one day it was just, she was just
Flirty
exhausted.
conversation or
Well,
something.
it wasn't even that. No, this is even worse.
Oh no. God damn it, Adam.
It was something like she was exhausted one day, just like one of her kids has been sick, and she came into work and she's like, I am absolutely exhausted. She's like, I just need to like take like a nap. Like, can I just take a nap? And I was like, oh, absolutely, of course. You can use my room, go take a nap. And so then after she went and took a nap, and then like after a little while, I went in there and I sat next to her, like on the bed, and I started talking to her. I'm just like, and we just kind of, as I'm talking, then I'm kind of just like rubbing her back. And
It's just snowballing into getting worse and worse.
yeah, and then we just started talking, and then and then I think we probably made out, and then we're like, no, we can't do this. I was like, no, we agreed we can't do this. This can't happen. So we're like, we cannot. This is not okay. We set these boundaries, but then we somehow managed to figure out that the boundary instead was it was okay for us to lay next to each other in the bed, talk dirty to each other, and jerk off. Like basically, like she masturbated and I jerked off until we both came.
Adam.
Yeah, and that was our yeah. So needless to say, that did not last as she continued to go to like counseling with her husband and everything. She only worked, I think, at the house. She continued to work from home for a while, but worked at my house for maybe another like 3 months, 4 months for a while, and then eventually kind of petered out because we were pushing the boundaries. Like we never had sex again, but we definitely like every time we said like, okay, we have to be professional, then somehow we end up naked in bed masturbating, like and like holding hands, like, but we're not having
Ugh.
sex, so it's okay. And yeah, and we just justified these like pushing the boundaries back and back and back. And I know that if we continue,
I
we
mean,
would.
you kept with the boundary, but you
Not,
actually needed to make even tighter
oh,
boundaries
then even
of
tighter boundaries. Like, no, you come to work, you leave. Like, we don't do anything that I
there's
wouldn't do with
nothing else.
another
Yeah,
employee or that you wouldn't do with one of your other friends. Like, we don't.
exactly. Would
Yeah,
another employee get a back rub in your bed?
right, right.
Absolutely not. Just even the bed part was too far of, yeah, you can take a nap in my bed. No,
Yeah,
you can work from home, be a boss. You can work from home the rest of the day and take a nap or be done
yeah.
early and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It was bad, and we really we like
It's
if
hard
we
when you care about somebody though, that you're like, well, I know that they don't mean anything bad by it, and then what happens? You got a dick in your mouth, or
right,
you're
right.
masturbating on a bed next to them, and you're like,
Exactly.
how the fuck did this happen? I
Next
did
thing you
not
know,
intend
you got a
this.
dick in your mouth. Yeah. But yeah, so that was something that I don't think I've never talked about actually, and but that's a really good example of us both being terrible at setting boundaries, and continuing to like and then pushing them back and changing the boundaries without ever being strict about them. And if she hadn't stopped working from at my house, we would have had sex again. Like it would have reached that point again.
Well, you
Absolutely
didn't
sure.
have a defined boundary from the beginning. It was just said that there was a boundary, but
It
it
was
was
just
a
like
ha
we're
ha
only friends
ha, you
now. We are
shouldn't
only
do this,
friends.
ha ha ha.
Kind of. It was like we are only friends now. And then like I think at one point I was laying there and I was like, okay, we're only friends who jerk off together. Like that's basically like and so
That
like we
doesn't.
just kept adding extra words. We're only friends who make out and jerk off and get next to each other, and then take a
But
shower or
if
whatever.
you remove yourself from the equation and look at it from an outsider perspective, you would know that it was fucked up.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
100%.
that's how I set boundaries now of am I being crazy for setting this boundary, or what would someone outside of this situation think? Should I set this boundary, or am I too loose or whatever with this boundary? And then I get
Right.
snapped back into reality of, no, I'm not being irrational, or yeah, you probably should tighten that boundary because people from the outside looking in would go, that seems kind of wrong, or that's unhealthy for you in XYZ way.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. What are we thinking? And this isn't even on our agenda, I'm interested to talk about this because it just occurred to me. What about setting
Masturbating in bed.
masturbating? It's nothing to do with boundaries. Let's talk about jerking off. What kind of boundary can you hit when you jerk off?
Switch in a topic.
No. What do you think? And I can talk about this too. But what do you think about people who set boundaries that are based out of insecurity or jealousy or baggage? Like, for example, someone who tells like their partner, you're not allowed to masturbate. Actually, masturbation might be good. Like, because I don't want anybody touching you but me. Like that's a boundary. Like or I don't want you looking at Instagram.
Liking someone else's Instagram
Yeah, like
photos.
just you're not allowed to like other. If I see you liking others' Instagram, that's cheating. And so their boundary is not based in any type of like logic it's
Oh,
based in
it's
an
a hundred
insecurity.
percent insecurity. Yeah. I think that's wrong. If you can't justify why it would be good for you to set the boundary based off of an emotional or physical boundary that's actually needed, or a sexual boundary that's
Right.
needed, then it's not a boundary, it's just an insecurity that you're placing rules around. So the whole not liking their Instagram, another girl's Instagram, that's out of insecurity that he's probably going to cheat on you. So then talk about that instead of setting that boundary. If it's
Yeah.
something coming from insecurity, you need to think, before I say, hey, you can't masturbate anymore, I need to go, is our sex life good right now? Is he happy with our sex life?
Right.
Let's talk about that before I say no more masturbating.
Do I trust him? That's another
Yeah.
question. Like, because if you do, then sometimes we'll be like, well, I don't trust them or something like that. Well, then
Why are you with him?
don't worry about them. Like, don't worry about them. Worry about him. But it is interesting. I have a friend who contacted me and she asked for my advice about this because a guy that she's seeing who's long distance, she finally like they both were on TikTok but didn't actually like follow each other, and then she ran across his TikTok just like just randomly, and happened to look, and he was following something like she said it was like, following a couple thousand people, but out of those couple thousand people, like 1,900 of them were like people, like just women that were basically all they did, all their stuff was just like sexy stuff.
Why does that matter?
Well, it bothered her just because he wasn't following. It seemed like he had no interaction with anybody except that group. And so
Does he
she was
have a
like,
big following?
well, no, he didn't have much of a following. That's who he was following, though. He was following basically
Uh,
98%,
okay, got
sex
it.
workers and and just women being sexy on TikTok, and that was it. And liking their stuff and everything. And so she just started to like feel like, why is that's all it's just like his porn. And then like she noticed that some of them were from the same area, like some of the newest people he followed were from the same town that he was in. And so she was like starting to feel a little like insecure. And I was like, well, I feel like it's, if someone follows a group of them, that's no big deal. If they like something occasionally, it's not a big deal. If they're obsessive about it, that's when starts to become an issue, because their obsession is obviously unhealthy regardless. But then she asked him about it, and he got really defensive and accused
It
her
is
of
your issue.
accused her of calling, of like, whatever, like, why are you bothered, like, why are you being jealous, why are you being so insecure, and then made his entire TikTok private.
I had a feeling that's where this is
Yeah.
going.
And
I mean,
so
my first instinct was what caused her to want to check his following in general of who he's following on TikTok? Because I wouldn't even think to do that unless he was stitching a bunch of people like that. Then I would get keyed into who the hell is he following. But if his content wasn't like that and he just seemed like a normal account on TikTok, my first thing wouldn't be to check who he's following. So that could have been stemmed from insecurity,
yeah,
and
it
then
did.
it was confirmed. Okay, and then it was confirmed, and then yeah, that was kind of fucked up. And then his answer just was nail in the coffin of yeah, something's not right here.
Right. So yeah, I think that's a situation where maybe her setting a boundary, saying like, it makes me feel uncomfortable that you follow, that's all you follow, like, because it just feels like that's what you're interested in, maybe. And especially since some of them are local, like, that boundary seems a little reasonable, just to like, I'd like to talk about this, like, why is this an issue, is trying to set up a boundary for or trying to figure out maybe the parameters of a boundary, even like just trying to figure out what like, is there a boundary
Yeah,
to be
I
set.
would.
And then he shuts her down and gets really defensive, and that kind of answers everything that she needs to answer. I don't think she's talking to him anymore after this, because
I don't blame her.
there was such a shitty experience from him going private and then blaming her. But
The
that's why
second you go private after shit like that, you know that you weren't necessarily
yeah,
doing something right. Not fully wrong, but yeah, I mean, that's the
that's
conversation of, is this porn for you? Cool.
right.
Okay. It does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. So you can have that be your, if this is an alternate case of if the conversation went differently of, okay, that's cool. Could you just not follow people like that in the town that we both live in?
Right.
Keep that as your like porn thing on TikTok. That's fine. Do your thing on there. But it was also his delivery. If you would have explained, actually, yeah, the reason I follow those people is because I like to use the platform for XYZ and I find this content and blah, blah, blah. But he got defensive, which was your first sign that it's not going to, obviously, it didn't
Exactly.
work out. That shit was going to hit the fan real quick.
So yeah, so I think sometimes it is okay if like there's a basis, if there's a little bit of insecurity in there, but you have to be careful about it, and context matters. So there's not
Right.
like a global answer for some of these things. It's just sometimes you have to. It's a case by case type of basis as well.
Ooh, can we do another case by case type of basis? Because I have
Yes.
an old
You have an
story.
example? All right,
I
let's
have
hear
an
it.
example. So this was talked about probably a couple of years ago now, being on Bumble and just swiping away whatever. Obviously, women have to
Oh
message the
yes.
guys first. And I received an email to my personal Gmail account from someone who was on Bumble in Nashville. And he messaged me and said, "Hey, Sarah, saw you on Bumble. Here's what I liked about your account. Let's break the ice. Here's 5 things about me. What about you? Blah, blah, blah. Signed so and so." And I saw it. And at first I thought it was a listener.
Brian, by the way, is his name. I remember his name
I
still. Brian.
literally forgot. I knew it started with a B, but I
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't remember. But Yeah, so I remember going through my Bumble first, going, that's weird. I don't remember ever talking to this guy. I felt insane I don't remember ever talking to this guy. I would have remembered if I did because whatever. And I looked through, I was like, I'd never matched with a Brian before. And I immediately called you and was like, this is totally fucked up because the boundary of having a dating app is staying on the dating app.
Yes.
Unless we both exclusively said, let's follow each other on Instagram or Snapchat, or we were both cool with that, then we could communicate on there too. But I had never even matched with him. He just saw me, typed in Sarah G dating podcast in Nashville. I came up, found the website, found my email address, emailed me instead. Which
because you didn't even have the name of the podcast. You had just said you do a dating podcast.
I do a dating podcast. So he just typed in dating podcast, Sarah G, Nashville, and
because I remember you called me and you're like, how did he find me? And so I was like, let me try. And so I typed in that's actually what I did. Was I Sarah G dating podcast? I don't even know if I put Nashville in there, and you popped up, and I was like, this is how he found you, just like that. And that's creepy as fuck.
And then to find not even the website for dating kind of sucks, but my personal blog where the email address was living at the time, and then messaged me from there. And I remember actually reaching out to Bumble saying, hey, this was super messed up, whatever. And they removed him from the app and sent me flowers after the fact.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they sent you flowers.
Yeah, they said, thank you for protecting our community, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was a really nice touch. But I felt kind of like a bitch for it because I don't know if I would have done that 5 years ago, if that would have been a boundary, or I would have found that to be, oh, sweet, he took initiative, blah, 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 you know? But now that I was older and realized, no, that's wrong. I don't think that's how you should approach me in that way. And if I didn't match with you and we didn't talk there, then why are you contacting me?
It was controversial in our Facebook group too, because we posted about it, and
there
were a lot of people who didn't necessarily understand why that was such a big deal. And so it is important to talk about. I think let's make that clear that a dating app is a boundary. You are putting your information on a dating app and saying, here's how I want to be contacted. And if as a man you find somebody who you don't match with, or you're talking to and they just randomly unmatch you or delete their account, it is not okay.
Don't go find them. It's not romantic
in any way to track them down and contact them on some other social media. That is unacceptable behavior. That is a violation of their privacy and their boundaries on an extreme level. And it might seem innocuous because you're like, oh, we were just chatting and we had a good conversation. That doesn't matter. They had made their choice. If they had wanted to talk to you, they would have reached out. If they had wanted to match with you, they would have matched with you. Clearly they didn't. And so it's so important. And I think that there are very few exceptions in that. Like even if, and this is one of the devil's advocate bullshit that people say sometimes. It's like, oh, well, what if a girl has her Instagram handle in her account? Well, you can feel free to follow her Instagram. If she puts her social media handle in there, that's a boundary allowing you to follow her. That actually doesn't mean send me a DM on Instagram, because that's just saying follow her. She's trying to get followers, and that's why she's putting it out there. That doesn't mean send me a DM and try to date me through Instagram. That does not mean that. And if you do that, you're once again violating a boundary. And the only time that I think there's ever any acceptable behavior with this in this situation is if you follow somebody on Instagram because they put their social media handle in their dating profile, and then at some point you just have a normal conversation, like you respond to a story of theirs or they respond to a story of yours, and then you just somehow a conversation comes up. That's acceptable because that's just natural. But trying to force it, not going to happen. Do you know how many times we have people in the group sometimes who will post screenshots of their Instagram DMs where it's just this one guy, and I think you even have this too, where like these guys are just like, hey, hi, or just laugh, react to everything they post, and like everything on their story, everything on some woman's story that they're following, and they never, the woman never responds in any way, and they're just a reply guy. They just reply to everything on their story over and over, just hoping to get a reply. That's just pathetic. It's fucking pathetic, dude. It's just like, stop doing it. You are fucking pathetic if you do that.
Yeah, and it goes back to setting the boundaries of how do you want to communicate? Just stay on the app? Can I follow you on Instagram? Can I add you on Snapchat? If they say no, there's the boundary.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not, oh, well, it's not that hard. You could just add me. No, that was the boundary. I prefer to not give you my phone number because I prefer to, if the date goes well, give you my phone number then, not before the date. Oh, well, it's not that big a deal. It's so much easier for me to just text you than the app. And I'm like, really? That's a boundary as well, just stemming from our app conversation.
Yeah, no. Like, this is good. And that's important to talk about. And the thing I want to get to that. I want to say one other thing about Brian too.
Okay.
Yeah, just sorry. This the whole thing.
Brian.
Brian. If he might have been a perfectly nice guy, but if he was willing to do that, that also sets up this scene that what means that if he were to be like a guy that you would date and then you break up with him, for him to cyber stalk you and try to find information about you to try to contact you again, like when people breach these small boundaries, when they ignore small boundaries, it shows that they don't have the ability to recognize large boundaries, very clear boundaries as well. So it's definitely a red flag, and so then that gets back to how dating apps are good ways to kind of screen out by setting boundaries, like the phone number. If someone asks for your phone number and you say, "Oh no, I don't give my phone number out till after first date," or just for safety purposes, I don't give out my phone number. If that's it, and then the guy's like, "Oh come on, like I'm not that guy. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not that blah blah." Yeah, that's him hearing your boundary and choosing to ignore it. And some men might argue with that and say, no, I'm just trying to convince her. Yeah, that's ignoring a boundary. If someone sets a boundary for their personal safety or even their own desire, like whatever reason they set this boundary, they don't have to explain why. It's your job to
shift. The whole thing. Shift your
Yes.
mind. It could have been okay before with other people. It's not with this person. Shift your mindset. That's their boundary. Respect it.
Exactly. Respect it is your job is to respect it. If they set a boundary, respect it. Don't argue with them. Don't be an asshole. Don't be creepy. And dating apps are great ways to do that. If they disrespect several boundaries, like if they start talking about sex too early on a dating app, and you're like, hey, that I really don't want to talk about that, or that makes me uncomfortable, and they continue bringing it up, once again, they're ignoring a boundary. So if they're going to ignore this small boundary, they're also likely to ignore bigger boundaries, like when you say no later on. Like they're going to ignore they're going to ignore consent later on too, and that's something that's very important to pay attention to, and a good way to use the apps to screen people out very quickly because they're waving these giant fucking red flags.
It all starts from the beginning. It's the small seed that gets planted, whether you rip that shit out of the soil or you let it grow into something that's a bigger problem.
Exactly. That's a nice analogy. Rip that shit out of the ground.
Dig that shit out and go, nope, not today, motherfucker.
Yes. So, like, I think that, what, and we're obviously get into what to do as far as setting boundaries, but I think we've talked about like a lot of the different types of boundaries. And I think that a lot of this boils down to, when someone says something, you listen to them and you respect what they have to say. I mean, that really is such an important concept that even if you feel and I understand, like as a man.
Adam's on a soapbox, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I feel as a man, I'm going to shoot another man for a second. I shouldn't.
No, it's just like as a man, I understand. Like if I'm chatting with someone and I'm having a good conversation and they all of a sudden, like for example, disappear from the app, I'm disappointed. I understand that disappointment.
That's life.
But yeah, that's life, and they've set a boundary. Tracking them down is where you're all of a sudden you have this, like, you become a stalker. And that's why it's a bad thing. Like I understand the disappointment, but an adult learns how to deal with that disappointment on his own, rather than all of a sudden realizing, well, the answer is to track her down and get closure, or to keep talking to her. And it
must have been a mistake on her end that we just stopped talking. She must have lost my number or whatever. Let's fix it. I can fix it.
Right. And the most mature and emotionally intelligent thing you can do when someone asserts a boundary is just respect it and work through the reasons why later on your own, but respect the boundary that she sets at that time. And in private, you can kind of like, well, I wonder why, and you can doubt it and you can question it on your own time, but not when you're engaged with her.
Yeah, was it something I said? I didn't mean it like that. No, it doesn't matter. It was already said. She's not interested anymore. A boundary was set. Move on from it.
Exactly.
For me in boundaries, I think the struggle comes with setting for people that I know for a really long time that I love and respect, and going, fuck, this is hard, it's needed, but I got to do it.
Yeah.
And going, this is probably going to hurt some feelings. And I'm speaking from personal experience with family members going, I have to set these boundaries for myself or I'm going to go absolutely insane. And I have to be adamant on setting those boundaries and saying, nope, that's not okay with me anymore. I've learned, I'm a grown woman now. This is how I live my life. That's not how I was when I was 10 years old. It is what it is. And we're living in this reality now. And really sticking to the new reality with said boundary.
Yes. I mean, and I think, I've been through something similar as well. And I think that it's important to set that, those boundaries. When I was the type when I was younger where like I talked to my mother about everything because my mother and I are very similar. She's I don't say that she's the smart one in the family, but like my dad's just like my dad, he's just like your average guy. My mother is very smart and like, he just, yeah, I mean, my mother does crossword puzzles in pen, like she's that type of person,
Gotcha.
and yeah. And my dad's the one who doesn't play Scrabble with us, basically, is what it boils down to. So my mother and I always were very, very good. We're very competitive a little bit too. But like when I went to college, every semester she would sit down with me over the phone and look at the course catalog and be like, okay, well, let's pick your courses. So let's pick, what you're going to take, and so we'd go through it and everything. Cause I was in Virginia in college. And so we should be like, oh, I think you should take this. And I think you should, and whatever. And I would usually defer to her. But then by like my junior year of college, I knew the professors really well. I knew which professors I wanted. I knew which classes were good for my schedule, what my work schedule was, all of these things. And I went ahead for registration without her one time. And I remember her calling me, "Hey, I got the course catalog in the mail. Let's talk about it." And I was like, "Oh, I already did all that." She goes, "Well, I wanted you to take a couple of these classes." And I'm like, "Mom, like I appreciate that, but like I know actually now I appreciate your wisdom and everything, but I know better now. Like I know better what to choose and how to choose it and when to, all of these things. And so I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to do this now. So I appreciate your help, but I can't, like I don't need you to keep doing this with me." And and it was a tough
I'm sure that
boundary.
hurt with her.
Oh,
You're like all grown up now. You don't even need her help with that.
Right, and I think it did, but I also think she knew because she was like, "Oh, well, you should take psychology, for example." And I was like, "I don't want to take psychology." And then I took psychology because she convinced me to, and then I actually ended up failing it because I like to take classes where they didn't have attendance policies, so I didn't have to go to the class,
God.
and I could still do well in these because I'd still pass the exams without a problem. I just didn't need to be there for the stupid bullshit daily shit. And he had attendance policy, and so like that was and that was one of the things that I didn't want to take it, and she convinced me to. So she not because of her, I got it up because of me, but like I gave in. And then as I got older, I went to law school, and then I remember like there was an issue. Oh, when I got engaged to Amy, and I called them to tell them about it, and my mother actually made me cry about the ring. She just like, I can't believe you would buy a ring in St. Louis because I was up in St. Louis at law school and not down here. Your uncles know these jewelers and blah blah blah. And we have like, and just like basically instead of being happy for me,
Because she wanted to be involved and you didn't involve her.
I think that was part of it. Yeah, and I think she also didn't expect us to get like get engaged and everything. And so she was mad about that, but she made me cry. And so like it took me a little bit of time, but then at some point I actually said to her, I had a call with both of them. And I said, "Listen, I love you both." I said, "But I had to set a really strict boundary." I said, "But I've never been good enough for you. Anything I do, it's like, hey, you didn't do this. You're like, I'm going to law school. You guys aren't happy with that. I've never gotten drunk in my life. I didn't drink at that time. I don't even drink. I've never done drugs. I've never been arrested. I've never had any of these things happen. Yet it's never good enough." I said, "So I need you to start being supportive. And if you can't start being supportive, then I don't need you in my life because I need people to be," and I was probably like 20 at this time. I was like, "I need people who are going to be supportive of me in my life. And so I can walk away without your support, or you guys can start to see me as someone that you actually,
An individual who,
that you
yeah.
compliment sometimes. You actually like are proud of me." And they didn't know what to say about that. They were really like, I think they were really shocked that I would say it because, they thought they were just being hard on me, like to help me build character. But to me, it was always they were negative. So I set that boundary with my parents when I was 20, and it has made my life so much easier since then.
It's change your relationship, but in a way that's healthy for you. It might not be what they wanted, but it's what you need. And at the end of the day, it goes back to making sure you are taking care of your needs and your emotional health is protected and physical, mental, all of that.
Absolutely. And then they started to, I think, respected me more as a result of it, because they knew that I was choosing to have them in my life and that they could choose to be there for me. And that meant that they had to like deal with it. And so then they dealt with it well. But it was hard. So setting those boundaries can be difficult, and they can be scary sometimes, especially with family members. But it was something that was definitely worthwhile and has paid off in the long run, because now I actually have a much healthier relationship with my parents, and I would say both of my siblings do. Like, they have good relationships to a degree, but they're also like, oh, mom's mad or dad's mad. What do I do? And I'm like, he's an adult. He'll get over it. Like, not,
Right.
it's just like, whatever. He'll be fine. And yeah, so that's how I've been approaching it.
Do you want to do a role play of how to set healthy boundaries? Because I mean, we could run through how to set a healthy boundary, but in a scenario, it might make more sense.
If you have any ideas, because I don't have anything prepared like that, so but we
I
can
mean,
chat
me
about
neither.
it.
I'm just thinking on the fly here with, I could identify a boundary and then it's also because we did this at work today. So maybe I'm thinking more role play stuff. Yeah, we did something similar to this at work where if I identify my boundary is don't text me after 10 p.m. and then you break it. And then I say, I don't know. It's hard to do because you're like not wanting to do it.
I don't like things like
Never
this.
mind. Never mind. Okay. So
Just
let me just run through how to set healthy boundaries, and then we'll go to plan A. Then fine, whatever. I was trying to be creative.
sorry.
Okay. So here are the steps to setting healthy boundaries. Number 1, clearly identify your boundaries. So do not text me after 10 p.m. And then understand why you need the boundary. So I need to go to sleep by 10 p.m. I don't like being bombarded by text messages past a certain time. I need my own personal space. 3, be straightforward with this is the boundary. Here's what it is. When they break,
right, like don't tie it up into a bunch of things. Just be like,
you
please
still
don't
texted
text me after 10 p.m.
Yeah,
like
you still texted me after 10 p.m. I mentioned that this was going to be an issue. I'm noting it now. And then 4, don't apologize or give long explanations for why that boundary is. Don't say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know it's an annoying thing. It's just kind of my thing. That's just who I am or whatever." No, say this is what it is. Tough shit.
Yeah.
Be strong about it. Number 5, use a calm and polite tone. So maybe don't be as strong. I'm contradicting myself. Be polite, but be firm on what that is.
Yeah, you can be polite. Like, you don't have to be bitchy, but you can be polite about it very easily.
Right. And then start with tighter boundaries. So like we had mentioned earlier in the episode, if they start texting you at 10:15 and you keep responding and then sometimes you don't respond and then whatever, you need to set that boundary and stick to it. 7, address boundary violations early. So that goes back to being straightforward, addressing it, calling it out when anything happens that you don't feel good about or that are a clear violation of that boundary. Number 8, don't make it personal. So it's not me hating on you because of this boundary. It's for the better of everybody that this boundary is in place. It's not me hating on you for setting it. I'm setting it for like this is just the new path I'm on, with your family of it's not personal. I'm just going to book those classes and plan my future this way. It's not personal. I'm not saying I don't think your opinion's valid. I'm just saying I got to do me. Number 9, use a support system. So other people who might be able to say, yeah, don't text her past 10 or yeah, it's better for her if this support system. And then 10, trust your gut. If, people are keep violating those boundaries and whatever, it might be time to go, hey, this isn't working. I can't have you
Yeah,
around.
the trusting your gut's one and two I think applies throughout the almost all those steps too.
Yeah.
Like even if it comes to setting the boundary, like trust your gut. If something is like, oh, I really don't like when this happens, then set a boundary for it. Unless it's based on some of your own like baggage or insecurities, like we said, then maybe you need to analyze it as what number two was, understand why you need the boundary. But your gut is very important. Now, what would you say is a good like we said, don't set boundaries, and or that you can't set boundaries without setting consequences. What's a consequence for something like please don't text after 10 p.m. and someone keeps violating it?
A phone call saying, "Hey, I don't appreciate you." That I think it warrants a conversation.
And then what? Like
And
blocking
then
them?
you just stop responding to
Like at
like
all? Or do you block them? I mean, because
I
I think that might be a consequence that you might have to be
I
like, listen,
mean, I
you
don't say
clearly
go
can't.
ghost, but at the same time, you go, hey, you keep doing it. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. This is pretty
Right.
extreme of a situation. But, yeah,
Yeah.
this is the boundary that I set. I can't have you. That is a consequence for some scenarios is I can't have you in my life anymore if you can't respect these boundaries. Tough
Right.
shit. This is
Yeah.
what's best for me.
That's
And
good.
if you can respect it, then you can be a person in my life. And that would be great. I would prefer if you did.
And I think that it's important to know that you don't be afraid to block or remove someone from your life if they show that they can't respect those boundaries. Now I'm not saying they have to do, you don't have to have like an immediate, like as soon as they violate a boundary, you're like, oh, they're done. But like if they show that a constant disrespect for your boundaries, then you shouldn't have them in your life in any way.
Ugh, again, she's gonna complain about that again because that's her boundary. If they're talking
Right.
shit like that behind your back, there's your sign.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a sign. Or even if they just keep pushing it, or they keep like trying to like,
Come on, it's
or
not that big of
ignoring
a
it or
deal.
whatever it is. Yeah.
So I had a boundary. It's actually the 10 p.m. thing is kind of relevant to me. I had friends, I'm no longer friends with them, who would text me on a Thursday night at 10 o'clock saying, hey, come out with us, come drinking with us, come do this, come
Yeah.
do that. And it was fine when I first moved to Nashville because I wanted to make friends or whatever. But when I finally started feeling like I was getting established, they just kept calling saying, oh, come on, it's just one drink. Oh, come on. And I would say, no, I'm already in bed. It's 9:30. I'm just ready. Oh, don't be lame. Don't be lame. And one or two times I would go out and suck it up and change and blah, blah, blah. And then the shit that I would get dealt back is, oh, well, you went out and on a date with a guy after 10
Oh,
o'clock that one time when you're already in bed. So why the fuck can't you come out with us now? And it was always like a blame game of making me feel guilty that I wanted to go out. I'm like, hey, that was my own choice. But honestly, I
right.
don't typically drink past a certain point on a weeknight. If I'm already in bed, whatever, I would prefer it to be a plan. And I started setting those limits of, hey, this is how I like to be communicated with during a weekday. Let's just set a plan for it. I have no problem going out drinking on a Thursday night. Let me just know the day before, or let me know
Yeah.
earlier in the day when I don't already have plans, not while you're already out because I feel like a second thought. And that boundary was set and it was never respected and we never hung out.
Yeah.
That was the end. I mean, for better or for worse, but that's just an example of even just people asking you out on dates saying, hey, I'm out right now, blah blah blah, and you're like, no, I'm in bed. Or I mean, you can apply that same scenario for a date that wants to keep hanging out with you, a person that just keeps wanting to see you, and
Hmm.
they mean well, but they're not respecting how you would prefer the scenario to go.
That's why I only text you after 9 and say you up. That's all whenever I text you that
You
late,
always
that's
do, and I'm like, can you fucking stop? New boundary. Can you not send you up at night just in general? I'm thinking, Adam, no, I'm not up. I don't want to fuck you. Bye.
just because I figure out I'm not going to bother having a conversation if you're not up. So
Yeah,
you up
that's
just
fair.
seems like a great post 9 p.m. Text.
Oh
At
yeah.
least you don't respond to yes, daddy, because that would have been terrible. That would be even
Sometimes
worse.
I see it and
You
I'm
have,
literally about to fall asleep and I see it and I go, I'm not responding to this because if I
yeah,
do, I'm going to stay up 30 minutes later texting you about something and then I can't go to sleep. I was about to
right,
fall
right, right.
asleep. But that's the boundary I set of no,
And I don't,
I'm going to talk to Adam in the morning. It's fine.
yeah, and I
It's
don't get,
not that
yeah,
serious.
I don't, it doesn't bother me. I understand that. Let's see what else. What do we want to talk about? Is there anything else? Let's
Closing
see.
out this episode today.
Yes, yeah, closing it out.
Let's sum it up.
Oh, and I do want to just I think reiterate the that a small violation of your boundaries only leads to large violations of your boundaries. So like someone who's willing to push that line a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit is going to do that worse and worse, and will also violate your more important boundaries. And so that's very important to see that as a pattern of behavior, not make excuses. Oh, it's just one small thing. No, it's not. It's a disrespect for your boundaries from the beginning. And that's not a small thing. That is a big thing, even if it seems like a small thing. And I think that's very important to keep in mind.
Right.
And other than that, a lot of this, once again, boils down to honesty and transparency. I mean, it
Oh
is like
shit. Everything. Wow, we should really
imagine.
keep a tally at this point.
I know,
Every
I
fucking
know.
episode. Honesty and communication and being transparent. That's
Yeah.
the key.
You just speak your mind, be
And
honest.
knowing what you want. Knowing what you
Yes.
want with
Which is
setting boundaries. What is best for me?
Yes. Which
Not
is
what
just a
other
lot
people
of self honesty sometimes. Like how to be honest with yourself about it and be aware.
Yeah.
Self awareness is important as well.
Yeah, don't care what others think. Care what is best for you and what you think is best.
And hopefully maybe some men will listen to this and understand a little bit more about respecting women's boundaries when it comes to physical, when it comes to dating apps, when it comes to those things, communication, and how important it really is, and what you're saying about yourself when you violate boundaries. So it's just as important to keep that in mind, no matter who you are, man or woman, that if someone sets a boundary, that you need to listen and respect it. That is the best behavior that you can possibly have in that situation.
Agreed.
So with that, should we?
Long ass episode,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. I know. That's all right.
My boundaries are being broken right now.
I
It's
know. It's late.
17 and I'm sweating and ready to go to bed. So turn
So,
off the air so it wouldn't kick on.
I know. Yeah, I have the air off in here too.
Like dying. Like Adam, shut the fuck up.
Well, and also since we're like a week late with our episode, so we're
That's
doing.
true.
You get an extra bonus size episode.
Ooh.
If you want to join us on social media, you can. You can join us in our Facebook group where we have discussions there. That's facebook.com/groups/DKS podcast. You can watch this on YouTube at youtube.com/dating kind of sucks.
You can follow us on Instagram at Dating Kinda Sucks, or follow Adam and I on TikTok at, I don't know your handle.
I'm just Adam
You didn't
Heath
put
on
them in the
TikTok.
show notes.
I know I didn't put it in the
unless
show notes this
read them.
time. I know I did a bad job with the agenda this time. But yeah, I didn't. It's I'm just at Adam Heath on TikTok. And if you do actually want to follow my or support the Kickstarter campaign for my book that I'm writing, and you do want to pre-order a copy, the link to the Kickstarter is going to be in the show notes for this show, wherever you find the episode. So there'll be a link to that as well. So you can just click the link and support me by September 8th if you do want to pre-order a copy. And
if you're looking at the show notes in iTunes, feel free to give us a 5-star rating and review on there. Don't forget and subscribe on Spotify.
Yes, that's it. And I think that's everything, right? Anything else? Patreon. Yes, you can also support us on Patreon for $5 a month at patreon.com/DKS podcast.
And that's it.
And that's it.
And respect those motherfucking boundaries.
Yes, and we'll have a surprise special episode actually for our next one after this one. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be back in probably only about a week or so, maybe a week
or so. Yeah, it might be sooner than later since we were late on this one.
So thank you for joining us.
Until next time.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers he plucks. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.